Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and welcome to another Sentinel Reviews. This time, we will be finishing catching up by reviewing The Diary of River Song, Series 3. Series 3 was released in January of 2018 and was once again directed by Ken Bentley. This series stars Alex Kingston as River Song, Peter Davison as the Fifth Doctor, and Frances Barber as Madame Kavarian. As always, I'm doing these unscripted, so there will be a blanket spoiler warning in place. Also, stay tuned to the end of the video for a special announcement regarding the future of Sentinel Reviews. Series 3 opens with The Lady in the Lake by Nev Fountain. On the planet Terminus Prime resides the Euthanasium, where wealthy clients can end their lives in a fantasy of their choosing, going out in a heroic hail of gunfire, sacrificing yourself to save the universe, being the sacrificial lamb to a bloodthirsty ancient tribe. You name it, Terminus Prime creates it. River has come to Terminus Prime seeking the mysterious cult leader known only as the Great Lake. Who is he exactly? Why is he sending his followers to their apparent deaths? And what does he have to do with the Battle of Demon's Run? I am glad to say that after The Boundless Sea, the opening story of Series 1, and The Unknown, the opening story of Series 2, in The Lady in the Lake, we finally get a strong opening story. And I will admit there is some bias there. I've said in the past, I don't think I've said it on video, I may have said it once, that my favorite writer in Doctor Who has been a tie between Rob Shearman and Robert Holmes. However, the more I listen to his work, the more I really like Nev Fountain. To date, I think his best work and my favorite of his stories has been Perry and the Piscon Paradox. Various writers try to work on various things in Doctor Who, for lack of a better explanation. At one point they might try to do a character piece, at another point they may try to do a grandiose adventure, so on and so forth. Nev Fountain, I found, always does character studies. The adventure in his stories is usually the background, because what's in the foreground, what we're focusing on, what the main story is the characters themselves. And The Lady in the Lake is no different. I'm going to save my thoughts generally on that for the overview, but yeah, just know that we start getting something different with The Lady in the Lake. We're given two stories here. One is River seeking this mysterious person, the Great Lake, and the other are flashbacks presented as audio recordings. Basically, they show what happened to Lake after the Battle of Demon's Run, which was a new series thing. I'm not getting into that. And okay, I didn't want to hit the spoilers so early, but I can't really talk about Lady in the Lake without hitting some spoilers. Lake is River's brother. Kind of, it's a thing. Basically, Madame Kavarian cloned him from River's DNA, so he is like River, he is a pseudo-Time Lord. The thing is, he doesn't know he is, so he and a batch of clones fled Demon's Run as the Doctor attacked it. Again, not getting into that. And these recordings are sort of Lake's own journal. And as he learns about himself and his ability to regenerate. And you see him descend really into madness. He develops a god complex, and I think the descent itself was really well done. The other story takes place in the present. River has learned about Lake and his cult, and she has gone to the Euthanasium to try and find him, because he keeps sending their siblings, Lake's and River's siblings, to their apparent deaths. And first of all, I love the euthanasium. I love deconstructing in works of fiction. I love deconstructing and these various ideas of what does the afterlife look like. You know, we have Discworld, Beetlejuice, and you know, sort of the euthanasium in Lady in the Lake sort of takes that same approach. It's more light-hearted, but yeah, there isn't really much to say there. While she's looking for Lake, she comes across a worker in the euthanasium responsible for the killings because it's his job, named Kevin. And Kevin is basically playing the Seventh Seal version of death. I really liked Kevin. He was, he's like, he basically approached this entire situation. He was eager to help River, don't get me wrong on that, but he basically approached this entire situation as, oh, I don't get paid enough for this. And I just, for all its lightheartedness, oh, my thoughts are so scattered on this story. For all its lightheartedness, Lady in the Lake does get serious. And that brings me back to Nev Fountain. One of the things I found out I really like about Nev Fountain is his ability to balance drama and comedy. Like I find some writers who try to do dramedies, when they do one and then they try to transition into the other, sometimes it doesn't work. And Nev Fountain has never had that problem. It's the balance between the comedy and the drama in his stories is always super well done. And Lady in the Lake ends with this really brutal twist regarding Lake's identity. And you really have to listen to it. On my first listen, I didn't think much of it. I thought it was a good story, but on my second listen, this is, well, right now, as I think about it, it's tied for my favorite story in Series 3. The second story of Series 3 is A Requiem for the Doctor by Jacqueline Rayner. Vienna, Austria, 1791. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart has just died. And shortly after his death, his final work, the famous Requiem, is to be debuted. However, the Requiem is completed, which is odd because according to history, the Requiem was incomplete upon Mozart's death. The Doctor, River, and the Doctor's newest companion, Brooke, arrive in Vienna trying to figure out what's happening. However, they get sidetracked into another adventure. Is this mystery surrounding Mozart's music linked to the mysterious deaths? So, I personally thought Requiem for a Doctor was the weakest story in Series 2. And I'm having trouble pinpointing why. I think some of it has to do with the Fifth Doctor. It's not that I dislike the Fifth Doctor by any stretch. It's just that Peter Davison has so little to work with here. And I thought, personally, his chemistry with River Song fell flat. They had good moments. Like, there's this entire scene where they talk about his sonic screwdriver. And River, trying to not give away that she knows him in his future, mocks the idea. It's a really cute scene, and they have another one. And then there's Brooke. Brooke is interesting, to say the least. I can't really talk too much about her now because in the context of this story, not a lot about her is given. It's just that when the Doctor picked River up at the end of The Lady in the Lake, the Doctor had been traveling with Brooke for some time. And Brooke doesn't like River at all. It's never expressly said why. Well, not at the beginning, but it just seems that she is jealous because of how well the Doctor and River get on. The, oh, I'm trying to think here. You know, this. Okay, here we go. This story opened with Mozart's death, finishing the Requiem and then dying. And the thing is, even though they keep referencing Mozart and the Requiem, it doesn't play that big a role in the story until the ending. It's like, which I found kind of off-putting. It's like, you're doing this big celebrity thing, you know, a celebrity historical, kind of. Like I said, the story opens with him already dying. And I just feel that they could have done more with it. Like, you know, people start dying due to this mysterious poison being passed around, and then from there the story focuses on that. To me personally, it made it feel disjointed. And then something else. The story references a Black Widow, a serial killer, named Julia Tefana. And I don't know if she's real or not. I couldn't find anything with a Google search, but yeah, that has no bearing on the story. I'm just bringing that up. I'm just, yeah. So. Ooh, this one is hard to talk about. There's another twist at the end of this story. Actually, I'm just going to say it. All 4 stories have twists at the end. And I don't want to... I think I may have to talk about that one, but... because it leads right into the next story, kind of. But yeah, Requiem for... See... Okay, I figured out what I'm having issues with. This story, by making it a sort of a standard Doctor Who story... because yeah, it is kind of standard with the mystery and the alien stuff going on. This story to me just came across as kind of bland, which is why I'm struggling with reviewing it, because it's just... until you get to that ending, and minus a few good scenes in the middle, there's just not a lot. And like I talked... actually, no, that I was going to say, like I talked about in Series 2, River did the whole passionate speech about love thing again, but I actually thought here it worked. So, yeah, just my thoughts, as rambly and all over the place as they are, but yeah, like I said, I found Requiem for a Doctor decent, but very bland. And that leads us into My Dinner with Andrew by John Dorney. The Bumptious Gastropod is the finest restaurant to ever exist outside of time. River and the Doctor take Brooke here to meet her employer. Much to River's surprise, Brooke's employer is none other than Madame Kavarian. With this information in hand, River hatches a scheme hoping to save the Doctor's life, because she has just learned that despite the events of Lake Silencio, the Doctor is supposed to die here. So if I could sum up My Dinner with Andrew in one word, that word would be insane. And I mean that in the best possible way. My Dinner with Andrew is simply amazing in how over the top it is. In the making of feature, John Dorney said he basically wrote this story to be a farce, and it is one of the most fun stories Big Finish has ever put out. And that's like comparing it to stories like The One Doctor. Last story I talked about Peter Davison having nothing to work here. Here he has a lot to work with, and he shows how great he is. He's basically playing 4 roles. He's playing the Doctor, he's playing Andrew, which a little backstory here. This story opens with another flashback. River, on another adventure, ran into this man named Andrew Edwardson. And to her surprise, this man looks exactly like the Fifth Doctor. So here she decides, oh, I can use that. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Peter Davison plays four roles. The Doctor, Andrew Edwardson. He plays the Andrew playing the Doctor, and a service robot River programmed to be the Doctor. Throughout this story, River is helped by a maitre d'. And as good as everything about this story is, the maitre d' is the best part of this story. Every time River is figuring something out, he always chimes in with his own thoughts or, oh, by the way, and he's doing it in this over-the-top, stereotypical French accent. It's just, this actor, whose name I'm forgetting, just seemed to really enjoy this, and it really shows. I love performances where you can tell the actor is just having fun with it. You know, oh, I think I let that thought get away from me. Like I said, in the making of feature, John Dorney said he wrote My Dinner with Andrew to basically be a farce, so he basically played with some of the concepts. Like, in Series 2, the way River made the Sixth Doctor forget about her is she used something called amnesia lipstick. I'm not going to question it. And basically, they were talking about it. And, you know, as John was talking about, he's like, oh, every time River interacts with an earlier Doctor to make him forget her, we can't just keep using the amnesia lipstick. So it's like, in this story, in this farce, he basically said, oh, let's let her use the amnesia lipstick every time. And this story just keeps stacking on top of the ridiculousness in the best possible way. Like, one of my favorite, because every time something new pops up, River goes back in time to address that issue. And that's just one of my favorite moments in this story is every time she goes back in time, the maitre d' is like, oh, it's nice to see you again. Let me restart that. River goes back in time. Okay, it's like, okay, I've gone farther back in time. I cannot have gone any farther than this. And then the maitre d' comes up to her, ah, madam, it's nice to see you again. And River is basically just like, oh, are you kidding me? And absolute, just hilarious and over the top. Another twist. This twist I thought worked better than Requiem for the Doctor. Not quite as good as as The Lady in the Lake, but oh, that's right. One of the things I wanted to talk about is throughout this story, there's narrations by the maitre d'. He's basically explaining the courses of a formal meal, you know, an aperitif, an appetizer, the salad, the fish course, and so on, you know, leading to the, you know, to punctuate how this story is happening, which kind of helps because with River going all over the place in time, it can be a little confusing, but here, that doesn't hinder the story. I think it actually helps it because the confusion is part of the entertainment value in this story. So, yeah, if you decide to get this set from this review, just look forward to My Dinner with Andrew. I hope I'm not overselling it, but it's really good. And Series 3 ends with The Furies by Matt Fitton. The Doctor is dead. The universe will have to learn to live without the Doctor. But River isn't going to accept that. She is on the warpath. Every race in the universe has some version, some story of the Furies. Mythical beings who hound those who commit wrongdoing to their deaths. And River is determined to be Kavarian's personal Fury. On my first listen, I thought The Furies was my favorite story. On my second listen, in preparation for this review, It ties with The Lady of the Lake for my favorite story. And so much of that is due to the scenes, the interactions Francis between Madame Kavarian and River Song. Alex Kingston and Francis Barber just have this amazing chemistry, and these scenes add so much to their characters. Like, I think we get more from series 3 in terms of River's character than we do in anything in New Who. Outside of her interactions with the Doctor. Like, Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead were good character episodes for River, but I think after that it was just every episode she was in, she was just kind of there. And Madame Kavarian, who, in New Who, Madame Kavarian was just this boring villain who had the benefit of having a great actress cast to play her. Like, seriously, watch anything Frances Barber is in. She's amazing. But here, oh my, I think I may have to go rewatch New Who, because with the thing, I think if we knew about Madame Kavarian, what we learn in this story, she would have been a much better villain. It's like, so here comes another spoiler. Brooke is another clone of River. She is River's sister. And we've also learned that Kavarian has made other clones from River's DNA. The twins, H1 and H2, and O. And that is just an example of how twisted Madame Kavarian is. She basically just gives them lettered monikers as their names. Is like, oh, which one off the assembly line are you? And, she tells them, oh, when you go out on your first mission, you'll get a real name. That is beyond messed up. It's like, she makes all the girls, River included, call her mother. This woman is twisted. It's like I said, if New Who gave us this information with Kavarian, I think she would have been such an amazing villain. And in fact, with this information now, I think she is an amazing villain. It shows that too. She's like the Ronnie in a way. She's amoral and she doesn't really care. She's psychologically abusive to these girls. And also another demonstration of how twisted she is her interactions with River, which I said are amazing scenes. And like, River tells her, my parents are Amy and Rory. And she says, that's not true. And Kavarian retorts with, that's not true. I'm the one who raised you. I'm your mother. And she responds with sort of this jealousy. It's like, and then Brooke. I couldn't really talk about much about her in A Requiem for the Doctor because she was just sort of there. She was just kind of the companion until the ending. But here, we really get to explore her character. And we learn that something isn't exactly right with Brooke. She was bred her entire life. She was born and raised to be an assassin. And now that she has done what she was supposed to do, her mental health is deteriorating. And, that's all I can say without giving too much away, because those are some great moments. The twist ending to The Furies is really heartbreaking. Like I said back in Series 1, River is willing to do things the Doctor is not willing to do. And then we get here, and we learn that Brooke, in order to fix things, Brooke is willing to do things that even River wouldn't do. Like, when I first heard that ending. When I first learned what Brooke did to save the Doctor, long story, listen to the Furies, it's phenomenal. My jaw just hung open. It's like, how could you do that? Another thing I like about the Furies is that it explains why we haven't seen Madame Kavarian since the Wedding of River Song. Basically, in the Wedding of River Song, the Doctor's death, a fixed point in time, was played out. However, the Doctor, of course, prevented it. He undid a fixed point in time, which led to this alternate reality. In this reality, the Doctor's companion, Amy, River's mother, killed Madame Kavarian. However, in the climax of the episode, the Doctor fixed everything, and the timeline was restored. But he basically said nothing that happened in that timeline was real, in that alternate timeline was real, but everyone will remember it. So basically, because that timeline was undone, Madame Kavarian is still alive. But we haven't seen her since then. So one of the things I like about the Furies is that it provides an explanation as to why. So even though Series 2 is my favorite release so far in the series, there's no denying that thus far, Series 3 is the strongest set in the range. You know, one of the things I liked is Series 1 and 2 were very much River jumping off into a grand adventure and her interacting with earlier versions of the Doctor. Series 3 for River was much more personal. It was much more about her character, learning more about herself and growing. And I think in terms of that, having Madame Kavarian be the main villain was a really strong choice. It also helped really flesh out and develop Madame Kavarian as a character and a villain. I thought the Fifth Doctor was a little on the weak side here, but he did still have some great moments. And one of the things I also really like is that this series overall seemed to be more lighthearted, which was really fun. One of the things I miss, and I left this out of my Series 2 review, is that in Series 1, the stories, to my memory, were the set began and ended with a narration from River, as if she was writing in her diary, which makes sense. The Diary of River Song. Series 2 and 3 seem to have foregone that, which I'm going to admit I kind of miss. Along with the title, The Diary of River Song, I thought it really tied it into that idea that these are River's stories and she's writing them in her diary. My personal rankings for the stories are, and this is tough because of that tie that I talked about, but I'd say my rankings for the stories are Lady in the Lake, My Dinner with Andrew, The Furies, and A Requiem for the Doctor. That's just my ranking based on their quality, not based on their personal favorites. But yeah, Series 3 overall, really, really good. Join me next time for Series 4, where River will meet her fourth husband and everything that entails. We're now caught up. Series 4 hasn't been released yet. I haven't listened ahead, obviously, so I can't do the little summary that I keep doing. Now, before I do my usual closing spiel, I said I had an announcement. Now that we're caught up, Diary of River Song is going to be a biannual release, 2 releases a year. Like in January of 2018, we had Series 3. In September of 2018, we're getting Series 4. And then Series 5 isn't coming out until January of next year, 2019. So, to fill the gaps, while I do my Series 11 reviews, I am going to be picking up 2 other Big Finish Doctor Who spin-offs. Diary of River Song was a new series spin-off. So, in its place, while we wait for releases, I am going to be reviewing 2 spin-offs from the classic series. I will be covering, and I just couldn't wait. I was going to save this for when I did my next unboxing video, but I got really excited, so I couldn't wait. So I will be covering Jago and Lightfoot and Countermeasures. Jago and Lightfoot is a spin-off from the 4th Doctor story, The Talons of Weng-Chiang. In that story, I want to say Victorian, but I'm not gonna. In that story, the Doctor and Leela helped stop the alien threat with the help of theater owner Henry Gordon Jago, played by Christopher Benjamin, and mortician Professor George Lightfoot, played by Trevor Baxter. Jago and Lightfoot ran for 13 series and concluded last year in December of 2017 with Jago and Lightfoot Forever and the passing of Trevor Baxter. Countermeasures is a spin-off from the 7th Doctor story, Remembrance of the Daleks. Basically, that not unit team that helped the 7th Doctor in Ace. Countermeasures focuses on them. Countermeasures ran for 4 series, was rebooted into the new Countermeasures, which was set a decade later. Countermeasures was set in the 60s. The new Countermeasures was set in the 70s. The new Countermeasures ran for 2 series and an individual CD release. Don't expect any set schedule on these. Jago and Lightfoot and Countermeasures both don't have bundle deals through Big Finish like some of the other releases do, so I have to buy the releases individually, and that costs money. So I will try to keep up on it as much as possible, but it all depends on when I get the funds to buy them. But yeah, just look forward to that. I don't know which one I'm going to do first. But yeah, 13 series of Jago and Lightfoot, 7... I need to think about that, actually. 13 series of Jago and Lightfoot, 7 series of Countermeasures, 8, again, if you count the CD. So, if you want to stay caught up on that, like, comment, subscribe, and then click the little bell to get notifications when I upload, because subscribe doesn't do that. This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and I'll see you guys next time.